of a wealth management firm on the island called Affinity Private Wealth. My day-to-day role is managing portfolios for private clients and trustees on the island. Affinity provides wealth management services for principally private clients, but also trustees and foundations on the island. And the business has two licenses. We have an investment business license through the regulator here, as well as a trustee license. And clients can come to us and have a holistic delivery of wealth management services, which may involve just managing assets, but may also involve setting up structures within which assets will be managed.
Fantastic. Now, first off, tell me, we'll come to SRI in a moment, but first off, just tell me.
Jersey as a jurisdiction has an enviable reputation around the world in financial services based on both legislation and regulation. So that helps any financial services business operating from here. The team that founded Affinity Private Wealth had all worked together here for some time. We'd got to know each other. We'd all reached an age when we set up Affinity Private Wealth in our early 40s that we'd got that experience where we felt we could branch out on our own and provide services to clients in a way that is slightly different to the norm, and that really establishes ourselves, or a niche for ourselves, in this competitive environment. We've spent a lot of time posing that question to ourselves as we set up our business, and in terms of some of the solutions we offer, for example in the investment space, we're very mindful that we wanted to deliver outcome-orientated mandates. So in other words, when we're managing assets for clients, we are managing them against benchmarks that are linked to inflation, CPI or cash, so cash plus benchmarks or CPI plus benchmarks. So there's a demonstrable objective that we're trying to achieve. The downside of those objectives or those benchmarks is that they always go up. So it's a real, that creates its own challenges. But we had our own values, and post-2008, the financial services industry generally, globally, obviously had some reputations to repair, and we felt that we could design our business and our services to provide wealth management solutions to clients in a format that would be very focused on what they were trying to achieve, but make sure that the service delivery aspect of that was very important in how we interacted with clients. Good question. I think it's a type of investor, and from our experience, we're seeing four groups or cohorts of investors really interested in this space. The first one would be the often quoted millennials, that generation born between 1982 and 2000, who are now inheriting wealth from parents or grandparents. They are very keen to see money invested for profit, but they're equally keen to see some good being done with that money as well. So that is a real growing demand from that cohort. Secondly, we would say women. Women are increasingly responsible for ever larger pools of assets, and we're seeing a real motivation from them to have those assets invested and also committing their time to make a positive impact on society and the environment. The third cohort would be trustees. The island here in Jersey, due to legislation and regulation, has a global world-class reputation in trusts and trust services, and we're starting to see trustees come to us and want to talk about how a portion of the assets that they control can be managed in an SRI environment. And then the fourth group would really be a subclass of trustees, and that would be pension trustees. Pension trustees commonly have responsibility for assets invested for the long term, and they're seeing the advantages that can be achieved by investing in an SRI mandate to cater for the needs of their pension members. So they're probably the four areas where we're seeing most interest in SRI investing. Well, I think there's two answers to that question. You're right. I think in terms of profile, it is growing. So, companies, there's growing empirical evidence that companies that are well run from a governance perspective, or companies that have a very sustainable business plan, be it in their products and services or the way they manage their resources, be it human capital or environmental capital, are over the long term profitable and therefore will reward investors. So that's the near term, or the profile that this type of investing has got now. But a second way to answer that would be actually the factors associated with SR investing or SRI investing have been around for a long time. Companies like Walter Scott, based in Edinburgh, or to a greater extent Hermes Investment Management, based in London, both of those companies were incorporated in the very early 1980s. And they would say they've long used factors around governance and sustainability in their analysis process for selecting companies that would be in their mandate. So, that it's an alphabet soup of acronyms in terms of ESG, SRI, CSR. That is all relatively new, but the factors underpinning those have been used by investors for quite some time. The criticism of this space is that it's a fad. It's the next fad, and it will enjoy this wave of popularity and then fade away. I would argue against that insofar as I think there is a real change across society, a societal demand, and a recognition that governments and the corporate sector need to work together to address the major problems that the world is facing, be that climate change, be that food scarcity, be that water inequality, addressing inequality, making sure healthcare and education is accessible to all. That will require long-term patient capital. And making reference to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, they were launched in 2015, and their target is to have those achieved by 2030. But there's a recognition too that not all of those are going to be solved by 2030. Therefore, it is incumbent on investors in this space to be prepared to commit capital for the longer term. And I think the wave of products and services across different sectors that are now being developed to address these problems means that there's a real runway of profitability for these businesses, particularly if they are enjoying some incentives set by governments to contribute towards attainment of those goals. And that should reward investors if they're prepared to commit for that long term. Yes, the badge. I'm wearing this today because Affinity Private Wealth last year became a member of the UN Global Compact, which is it's an initiative set up by the United Nations where companies and actually not-for-profit organisations can join and sign up to committing to 10 principles around anti-corruption and the environment and labour rights. And we're a member of the UN Global Compact, and linked to the UN Global Compact are the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 goals represented by the badge here. So as well as a business, we're committed to contributing to the achievement of their goals, and part of that commitment is providing services to our clients who want to invest capital towards the achievement of those goals. Yeah, so I moved here in 1991 as a graduate recruit, originally working for Lloyds Bank, and was originally here for a 2-year secondment, but met my wife and enjoyed living here, and I've stayed here ever since. Great place to bring up children, particularly in the summertime where we enjoy a great climate. From a professional perspective, the environment here in financial services in Jersey has been a great story. It's gone from strength to strength. The reputation here the reputation that Jersey has with the UK, Europe, and the rest of the world has just grown and grown, thanks to the work done by Jersey Finance and the regulator, and the type of legislation that's been passed here has meant that individuals or corporations that are wanting to move capital to an environment where they feel it's going to be well looked after and is safe, and where legal property rights are strictly adhered to, it's been wonderful. The growth of Jersey has helped me personally and businesses on the island grow at the same time. Yeah, well, I think transparency is not a challenge, because the values and the culture established again by the regulators here has been one of transparency. So the island's finance community has risen to that challenge. I think it's really some of the global challenges that are around today. The rise of terrorism, and the need for particularly individuals to want to protect their assets. If they've generated wealth, they want to ensure that wealth is effectively cascaded down to their families and future generations, or where there is a desire to do so, that wealth is used for good, and charitable trusts are established, or foundations are established. And the fact that you can protect assets here and provide a legacy for future generations as that wealth is cascaded is one of the great strengths of the island. Near term, clearly you can't have many conversations with clients without talking about Brexit. And in the past, Jersey's prosperity has been linked to the prosperity of the City of London, with being a global financial centre, and that will continue. But again, thanks to Jersey Finance and other bodies on the island, the footprint of Jersey as a financial centre is now global. So we're not reliant anymore, or specifically on the UK market. There's lots of growth opportunities around the world, particularly Asia and Africa, where I know Jersey Finance is doing a lot of work. Affinity Private Wealth, we established our sustainable strategy in 2018. And we've, the mandate is growth with impact. It's a multi-asset class portfolio, and we've got a growing interest in that solution. In designing that solution, we were very cognizant that we wanted to make sure that it would be accessible to all. It wasn't just an exclusive service for the wealthy. So we have made that solution available to platforms that are administered on the island. So however modest an individual's wealth may be, or even for younger people who are wanting to commit just regular savings, they can access that solution through those platforms. And at the same time, it's all about aligning wealth with values, and as part of that, it's aligning Affinity Private Wealth's values. And we've entered into an agreement with Durrell Wildlife Preservation Trust on the island, and a portion of the investment fees that we take from managing the assets in sustainable strategy, we donate to Durrell and help finance some of the great work that they do in terms of conservation of wildlife around the world. So the community on the island will share in the success as that sustainable strategy grows.